Hey, welcome back to the 5 to 9. This is a series that I do where I talk about being this weird medium-sized influencer, creator person. How that creating the stuff that I do online isn't my full-time job, but it brings me all of these other things. One of the cool things my creative stuff brought me this month was a trip to Brussels. The European Commission DM'd me on Twitter, as you do, and invited me to come to Brussels for a European Development Day, all around this campaign called We for She. I jumped for joy and was then like, you do realise that I'm from Britain, right? And they were like, yeah, we still want you to come. And I was like, brilliant. The party's not over till it's over, guys. I've been thinking a lot recently about this idea of going viral, of having that one thing that relates to so many people that it blows up and it finances the rest of all of your creative endeavours forever, right? It feels like there's a culture at the moment where everybody's looking for that thing. Everyone's trying to make their thing as universal as possible. I guess I realised that I was thinking in this way that was like, here's the little nugget of the idea. Here's truly what I want to create. But to get it out there into the universe and make it literally universal, I've got to spread it out. It's got to be picked apart and squished so that it can spread across as many people as possible and become universally exciting. So I went to this conference and some legit people were there. The president of the European Commission was there. I saw him speak. That was incredible. Although I'm ignorant and only speak English and he was not speaking English. But I'm going to assume what he was saying here was high quality, radical feminist content. The Queen of Belgium was there, and also the Queen of Spain, who kind of, if you'll humour me, looks a little bit like Angelina Jolie. So I looked at the programme and there were so many things going on, most of which I didn't even understand the titles of. There was lots of NGOs and government officials there, and I was like, I am just a lonely blogger taking 2 days off work to wander around and pretend to take notes for all these important people. I met Melanie Murphy there and we had a great time exploring. I guess I was kind of like excited about kind of learning all of these big universal truths I could take back and be like, to get to return to the office and be like, yes, I have been your ambassador in Europe and I come bringing universal wisdom. I don't know, I guess I was like looking for answers. And instead, I ended up listening a lot to a lot of other people's very specific stories. I ended up wandering in on a lot of unexpected discussions that I would have never thought about. Things that would never have crossed my radar. You can't get more specific and also less in my industry than a panel on the sharing economy and how apps like Uber change economy for women, which was actually incredibly interesting. Did you know that women drivers in the UK see an average uplift in earnings of 22% when they sign up to a driving app like Uber, compared to 6% for men? It's got a lot to do with the flexible hours issue. It takes out the factor of favouritism and bartering economy. I also learned that Uber are committing loads of money to women in Saudi Arabia now that the law is about to be changed for them driving, paying for them to get their licenses with no obligation to join Uber as a company. What the fuck? Me and Melanie went to this amazing screening of this film called Mercy's Blessing, which I'll leave a link to below. The director, May, was there, and it was this film all about boys giving up their positions in education to make way for their little sisters, so their little sisters wouldn't get married off. And it was just just this incredible conversation starter about noble sentiments and cold rationalising and where real change can happen within that. And again, that was a film about a very specific boy and a very specific girl, their siblingship and their village, but she talked about how it did have this universal impact she wasn't expecting. I went to a panel about women's access to digital in Africa and how that changes their access to everything else. And again, a lot of the information was about places I'd never heard about before, specific situations and people that I was just listening to. And stumbling into discussions like this means that you don't bring an ulterior motive or any experience to the table. So you're really sitting there and just listening and not trying to make something relevant to your life. I think this conference was a great antidote to a lot of the self-help and like well-being stuff we see around, because there wasn't this kind of like, we're telling you this because it can relate to you. It's like, we're telling you this because it has intrinsic value without you, and we believe that you knowing these other people's stories is important in and of itself. As I wandered around Brussels in the mornings and the evenings of that conference, I thought about this quote by James Joyce. In the particular is contained the universal. And I've realised since reflecting on going to that conference that I had the diagram wrong. The reason some stories feel so empty and feel so far away is because you're not meeting the person as they are, and you're not listening to their stories in the way they choose to tell them. And there's something very particular when we think about content as viral or universally applicable or accessible in an intellectual way anyway. It doesn't always mean spreading something out and making it thinner and simplifying it. When I say the story of an elderly woman living in Zimbabwe isn't accessible or relevant to me, what I'm really saying is that I don't know how to access it. I haven't taken the time to access it. And perhaps I've got too excited about the idea of everything being relevant to me. I took so much away from that conference, from listening to all of these incredible women doing their very specific jobs of things that I have no idea about, some of which I can't articulate because it's too specific for the language that I have, I guess. It's there, and I know that I got so much out of it, and it's hard sometimes to explain what that was. And I guess that goes back to this diagram that I thought about being well wrong. If James Joyce is right, then when you get something particular, when you get a story that is so specific to you, and your intent isn't to make it for everyone, that's where we find the universal, is in these specific situations. These stories with crevices and corners and details and footnotes. The universal isn't waiting out there, it's in there, in those stories. For me, that flipped my creativity on its head. Yeah, I might not have made a viral video. I might not know how to make a video that will be applicable to hundreds of thousands of people. But do we need 5 people telling thousands of people how life is? Perhaps we need more stories. We need to seek out lesser known ones. Because the places where I found the universal, that thing, that nugget that makes me feel connected to the universe and to other people, is in particular places. And perhaps everyone's particular place is somewhere really specific. So I guess what I'm saying is, make your particular art. Share with us your obscurity. It might not be the thing that puts light in your home or fills your bag with food or puts water in your tap. That thing often happens in the 9 to 5. But write your particulars in the 5 to 9 and fold them up in little notes and pass them around, because we want to hear them still. It might not make it around the world in 80 days. But for the person whose palm it lands in, it might just keep them on Earth.